Hey everybody, Jeff Murray here, wanting to continue our discussion of the Odyssey, specifically the Robert Fagel's translation of the book. And in this particular video, we're going to focus on book 21, Odysseus Strings His Bow. And what we're going to see here is the competition that Penelope is setting up to see who, amongst all the suitors that are there, is the one that is worthy of being her husband. All right, and essentially she's going to lay this competition out and see who can string Odysseus's bow and who can shoot it through axes. All right, and so the deal is here, if someone's able to do this, this is Odysseus's bow. This is a big deal. This is something that is a symbol of him, and if they can do something, achieve this feat, then they may be worthy of her time and her attention. That's the pretense that we have set up here. All right. So at the beginning of this book 21, we see, she's setting it up, the competition there, and also we see that on the very last line of page 424, that his bow was a gift, from the old days, from a friend he'd met in Lacedaemon. Okay, and it goes on to talk about how the bow came about, a little bit of the background there. But around line, let's say 45, it says, "That great weapon, King Odysseus never took it abroad with him. When he sailed off to war in his long black ships, he kept it stored away in his stately house, guarding the memory of a cherished friend, and only took that bow on hunts at home." So this is a prized possession of his. This is something that has yes, value for a hunt or whatever, but sentimental value. This thing mattered to him, and it was his alone, so much that he never took it anywhere to, for fear of ruining it or whatever. On page 426, Penelope, as she gets everything set up, she addresses the suitors. I'll say about line, let's say 77, where it says that she delivered an ultimatum to her suitors, all right? She says, "Listen to me, my overbearing friends," which I find a very interesting thing to say. Overbearing friends. Friends usually are people who will accommodate you, who will be, caring, nice, and work with you to see that you get what you desire. Because you would do the same thing if you are friends. It's a mutual thing. But she says, "my overbearing friends." I find that to be a very interesting way for her to state that. But she goes on to say, "You who plague this palace day and night, drinking, eating us out of house and home, with a lord and master absent, gone so long. The only excuse that you can offer is your zest to win me as bride. So to arms, my gallants. Here's the prize at issue, right before you. Look, I set before you the great bow of King Odysseus now. The hand that can string this bow with the greatest ease, that shoots an arrow clean through all 12 axes, here is the man I follow. Yes, forsaking this house where I was once a bride, this gracious house so filled with the best of that life can offer. I shall always remember it, that I know, even in my dreams." All right. She turned to Eumaeus, ordered the good swineherd now to set the bow and the gleaming iron axes out before the suitors. He broke into tears as he received them and laid them down. So he, of course, we know, is so incredibly loyal to Odysseus. She hands these things over to him, and he's just weeping because he knows the significance of these things. All right. So he broke into tears as he received them, laid them down. The cowherd wept too when he saw his master's bow. But, of course, Antinous wheeled on both and let them have it. Yokels, fools! You can't tell day from night, you mawkish idiots. Why are you sniveling there or sniveling here? You're stirring up your mistress. Isn't she drowned in grief already? All right. Oh, so you are really caring so much about how much grief Penelope is enduring already when you're the one who's giving her the grief to begin with? This guy's too much. All right. She's lost her darling husband. That's why you're there. All right. Sit down, eat in peace, or take your snuffling outdoors. But leave that bow right here, our crucial test that makes or breaks us all. No easy game, I'll wager, to string his polished bow. Not a soul in the crowd can match Odysseus. What a man he was. Oh, he's just laying on so thick. Seems so ridiculous, all right? A couple lines down, though, we see smooth talk, the narrator says. But deep in the suitor's heart, his hopes were bent on stringing the bow and shooting through the axes. So he's saying one thing that makes him seem all nice, but he actually has intentions that are not as, what do you say, honorable. That's the word I'm looking for, okay? And so this also reminds me of a story from the book of the Gospel according to St. John from the Greek New Testament of the Christian Bible. And it's the book of John, chapter 12. This is verses 1 through 5. Okay, and we know probably the character of Judas. And, Judas was the betrayer, all right? But here we go. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. There they made him supper. Martha served, but Lazarus was one of those at the table with him. Mary took a pound of costly ointment of pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the ointment. But Judas Iscariot, here we go, Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, who was to betray him, said, "Why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief and he had the money box he used to take what was put into it. All right, so it's the same kind of thing. Why was this not given to the poor? Why was this not sold and the money given to the poor? That would be the right thing to do. But deep in his heart, he wants the money for himself. So it's the same kind of thing. Who could string Odysseus's bow? He was a great man. God, I hope I can do it, because if I can do it, cha-ching. All right, it's the same thing. Same thing. All right, so on down the page, Telemachus, he gets really excited about this whole thing and really ready to go, and he decides to give the bow a try himself. And I think this is very telling right here, all right? If you want to look about line 141 to 3, okay, it says, and we have the same pattern again, this 3 times, 3 times, 3 times. 3 times he made it shudder. He's trying to string this bow. Straining to bend it. 3 times his power flagged, but his hopes ran high. He'd string his father's bow and shoot through every iron, and now, struggling with all his might for the 4th time, he would have strung the bow. But Odysseus shook his head and stopped him short despite his tensing zeal. All right, so that's important right there, because Telemachus, with some work, is able to string this bow, showing another time that he is reaching that level to be able to take over in the place of his father. But then he hams it up. Everyone's like, "Oh, God, help me," the inspired prince cried out. "I must be a weakling, a failure all my life, unless I'm just too young to trust my hands to fight off any man who rises up against me. Come, my betters, so much stronger than I am, try the bow and finish off the contest." Well done there. And the Oscar goes to, all right, anyway. All right. Then we see other people try it, line 172, "Friends, I can't bend it, take it, someone try. Here's a bow to rob our best of life and breath, all our best contenders." Then goes on, about 3-4 lines after that. "If there's still a suitor here who hopes, who aches to marry Penelope, Odysseus' wife, just let him try the bow. He'll see the truth. He'll soon lay siege to another Argive woman, trailing her long robes and shower her with gifts. And then our queen can marry the one who offers most. The man marked by fate to be your husband. The man marked by fate to be your husband. Well, that's freaking Odysseus. It's already done. All right? See what I'm saying? The man marked by fate to be her husband will be the one who does it. All right. So, Antinous gives him a bunch of, grief. All right. He even says, hop to it, Melanthius. He barked at the goat herd. Rake the fire in the hall, pull up a big stool, heap it with fleece, and fetch that hefty ball of lard from the stores inside, so we young lords can heat and limber the bow and rub it down with grease before we try again to finish off the contest. So he's not just wanting to take the bow and just do it and prove that he's like, let's heat it up, let's soften it up, let's get it all worked in so we can have an easier time of doing it. Then it says, the goat herd bustled about to rake the fire, still going strong. He pulled up a big stool, heaped it with fleece, and fetched the hefty ball of lard from the stores inside. And the young men limbered the bow, rubbing it down with hot grease, then struggled to bend it back, but failed. Even with all of these things, they are unable to do it. But Telemachus almost did it. He would have done it if Odysseus hadn't told him not to, all right? No use. They all fell far short of the strength the bow required. Antinous still held off, all right? Dashing Uremicus too. The ringleaders of all suitors, head and shoulders, the strongest of the lot, all right? So it's interesting that they're holding back, okay? They're holding back. I wonder why. If they're the strongest of the lot, wouldn't they just jump in and say, here, I did it, all right, I deserve it? Or are they sizing everybody up? Are they nervous that they can't do it themselves? I mean, all valid questions at this point. All right, so Odysseus says down here, about line 218, cowherd, swineherd, he calls them aside. And he says, what, shall I blurt this out or keep it to myself? No, speak it out. The heart inside me says so. How far would you go to fight beside Odysseus? Say he dropped like that from the clear blue sky and a god brought him back. Would you fight for the suitors or your king? Tell me how you feel inside your hearts. Father Zeus, the trusty cowherd shouted, bring my prayers to pass. Let the master come, some god guide him now. You'd see my power, my fighting arms in action. Eumaeus echoed his prayer to all the gods that their wise king would soon come home again. Certain, at least, these two were loyal to death. Odysseus reassured them quickly, I'm right here. Here in the flesh, myself, and home at last, after bearing 20 years of brutal hardship. Now I know that all of my men, you two alone longed for my return. From the rest I've heard not one real prayer that I come back again. So now I'll tell you what's in store for you. If a god beats down the lofty suitors at my hands, I'll find you wives, both of you, grant you property. Sturdy houses beside my own, and in my eyes you'll be comrades to Prince Telemachus, brothers from then on. Come, I'll show you something, living proof. Know me for certain, put your minds at rest. This scar, so he's going to show them that scar. He's going to show them that same scar he showed Eurycleia, so Eurycleia knew full well who he was, all right? Look where a boar's white tusk gored me years ago, hunting on Parnassus. Autoclus' sons, and I, all right, and shows and kind of goes through that a little bit, all right. About line, let's say 255. He says to them, though, because they burst out into tears once they realize, oh my God, this is who he's really here. This is Odysseus. Holy cow, mind blown, all right. No more weeping. Coming out of the house, a man might see us. Tell the men inside. Let's slip back. Tell the men inside. Let's slip back in singly, not in a pack. I'll go first, you're next. Here's your signal. When all the rest in there are lordly friends, are dead against my having the bow and quiver, or dead against my having the bow and quiver, good Eumaeus, carry the weapon down the hall and put it in my hands. Then tell the serving women to lock the snugly fitted doors to their own rooms. If anyone hears from there the jolting blows and groans of men caught in our huge net, not one of them show her face. All right, so he's thinking this is going to work out, okay? What do you think? Of course. All right. The top of the next page. Sit tight. Keep to her weaving. Not a sound. You, my good fallacious. Here are your orders. Shoot the bolt of the courtyard's outer gate. Lock it. Lash it fast. All right. So we now have Uremicus holding the bow down in that that second break in that page. But watch what he says here. I find this very interesting, the way he sort of examines this whole thing. He says, a black day. A blow to myself, a blow to each man here. It's less the marriage that mortifies me now. That's galling too. But lots of women are left. Some in Seagirt, Ithaca, some in other cities. What breaks my heart is the fact we all fall so short of great Odysseus' strength. We cannot string his bow. A disgrace to ring in the ears of men to come. So it's almost getting to the fact, not almost, it is, that it's an ego thing now. It's not just about winning Penelope. Who cares? There are other women, he says, other fish in the sea. The deal is right here, right now. I can't do this. I'm lesser of a man than Odysseus was, or is, or whatever. All right? And that's really getting to him. All right? And so, let's see. Where are we going to go here? So here we go. Page 433. Odysseus, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 or 7 lines in. Odysseus says, listen to me, you lords who court the noble queen. I have to say what the heart inside me urges. I appeal, especially to Uremicus and you, brilliant Antinous, who spoke so shrewdly now. Give the bow a rest for today. Leave it to the gods. At dawn, the archer god will grant a victory to the man he favors most. And they just said, hey, maybe we need to do this. Maybe we just need to say prayers to the archer god. We're going to need all the help we can get from any and every place. He goes on, for the moment, give me the polished bow now, won't you? So to amuse you all, I can try my hand, my strength. Is the old force still alive inside these gnarled limbs, or has a life of roaming, years of rough neglect destroyed it long ago? Modest words that sent them all into hot, indignant rage, fearing he just might string the polished bow. Like, holy crap, what are we going to do if that guy, that bum beggar, does it and we can't do it? All right, so, man, they're just, Odysseus, Penelope's little thing, and Odysseus, all this stuff, that has gotten inside their heads, man, okay? So Antinous rounded on him, dressed him down. Not a shred of sense in your head, you filthy drifter. Not content to feast at your ease with us, the island's pride, never denied your full share of banquet, never. You can listen in on our secrets. No one else can eavesdrop on our talk. No tramp, no beggar. The wine has overpowered you. Like, you're drunk, dude, if you think this is even going to happen. All right? Heady wine, the ruin of many another man. Whoever gulps it down and drinks beyond his limit. All right? Penelope steps in on the next page. All right? And about line 350 says, Antinous, watchful Penelope stepped in. How impolite it would be, how wrong to scant whatever guest Telemachus welcomes to his house. You really think if the stranger trusts so to his hands and strength that he strings Odysseus' great bow, he'll take me home and claim me as his bride? You really think that's going to happen, she says. He never dreamed of such a thing, I'm sure. Don't let that ruin the feast for any reveler here. Unthinkable. Nothing could be worse, all right? And I wonder there, it's like, man, is she in on this? Does she have things figured out? I don't think so, but it just seems like, dude, just let him have it, all right? Whatever, all right? Here we go again. We see Telemachus giving his mother attitude that would make my wife slap my son across his face, all right? This is about line 382. Mother, poised Telemachus broke in now. My father's bow, no Achaean on earth has more right than I to give it or withhold it as I please. Of all the lords in Ithaca's rocky heights or the island facing Elis's grazed by horses, not a single one will force or thwart my will, even if I decide to give our guest this bow a gift outright to carry off himself. So, mother, go back to your quarters. Tend to your own tasks, the distaff and the loom, and keep the women working hard as well, for as for the bow now, men will see to that. But I, most of all, I hold the reins of power in this house. All right. Now, of course, getting the women in the room was part of the plan, right? He said that earlier. Make sure, lock their doors whenever we start this, and no matter what they hear, stay inside, all right? But, astonished, it says, she withdrew to her own room. She took to heart the clear, good sense in what her son had said. Climbing up to the lofty chambers with her women, she fell to weeping for Odysseus, her beloved husband, till watchful Athena sealed her eyes with welcome sleep. All right. So, now we have on page 436, about line 422, it says, the swineherd took the bow, carried it down the hall to his ready waiting king. All right, so, and standing by him, placed it in his hands, and then he called the nurse aside and whispered, here we go, good Euroclea. Telemachus commands you now to lock the snugly fitted doors to your own rooms. If anyone hears from there the jolting blows and groans of men caught in our huge net, not one of you show your face. Sit tight, keep to your weaving, not a sound. That silenced the old nurse. She barred the doors that led from the long hall. All right, so now Odysseus takes it and he starts looking at this bow, okay? And they're all watching him, okay? He's doing it, all right? And about line 449, someone says, I wish him luck. Some cocksure lord chimed in. As good as his luck in bending back that weapon, all right? So they mocked, but Odysseus, mastermind in action, all right? Once he'd handled the great bow and scanned every inch. Then, like an expert singer, skilled at lyre and song, who strains a string to a new peg with ease, making the pliant sheep gut fast as at either end, so with his virtuoso ease. I love that. The virtuoso ease. Odysseus strung his mighty bow. Last two lines there. He snatched a winged arrow lying bare on the board, and the rest still bristled deep inside the quiver, soon to be tasted by all the feasters there. Did you get that? Odysseus grabs an arrow, puts it in there. The other ones are still in the quiver, and it says the other ones were there to be tasted later by the people who were there. Aha! All right. Setting shaft on the hand grip, drawing the notch and bowstring back, right from his stool, just as he sat, but aiming straight and true, he let fly, and never missing an axe from the first axe handle clean through to the last and out. The shaft with its weighted brazen head shot free. Telemachus, Odysseus looked to his son and said, your guest sitting here in your house has not disgraced you. No missing the mark, look, and no long labor spent to string the bow. My strength's not broken yet, not quite so frail as the mocking suitors thought. But the hour has come to serve our masters right, supper in broad daylight, then to other revels. Song and dancing, all that crowns a feast. He paused with a warning nod, and at that sign, Prince Telemachus, son of King Odysseus, girding his sharp sword on, clamping hand to spear, took his stand by a chair that flanked his father, his bronze spear point glinting now like fire. So there the two sit. Oh, well, Odysseus is sitting. Telemachus is right there, having accomplished something that none of the men could do, no matter what they tried. Pray to the gods as they might, rub it down with lard as they might, heat it up as they might. Odysseus did it and accomplished the feat that they could never do. All right. So I'm going to leave it there, but if you want to take a look at the title for the next book, Book 22, Slaughter in the Hall. Not leaving a whole lot to the imagination, but we'll get to the details, won't we? All right, so there you go. Book 22, read it on your own, annotate on your own, have original thoughts of your own. Meet me back here and I'll give you my thoughts, all right? So until then, and as always, happy reading.